What are some of the toughest treks on our list at Indiahikes? Before I get into the list, you must know that it's ideal if you talk to us before you sign up for any of these treks so that we can guide you better. To do that, we have a form in the description below. All you have to do is fill it out. So let's get started with the treks. The top trek on our list of toughest treks by Indiahikes is Bali Pass, and with good reason. This is a trek that starts from the Harkidun Valley and crosses over the Bali Pass and climbs into Yamunotri. The Bali Pass right on top is at 16,200 feet, but then that's not the most difficult part of it, because the first 2 days of the trek might not seem too challenging, might seem like a cakewalk, but then comes your advanced base camp. The advanced base camp of this trek is at 15,100 feet. It's almost like camping right on top of Rupin Pass or Buran Ghati for an entire day and then starting your climb to the pass. So that's what the advanced base camp is like. And then comes your climb to Bali Pass, which is on a knife-edge ridge, sometimes covered in snow, sometimes without snow, but both times equally tricky. And then you reach the Bali Pass at 16,000 plus feet. You think the most toughest part is over, but then you realize you have the most difficult section, which is the descent from Bali Pass. So Bali Pass, definitely not a trek for the faint-hearted and not a trek for somebody who's not trekked before. You need experience, fitness, and only then it can be on top of your list. The next on our list of toughest treks is the Warwan Valley trek in Jammu and Kashmir. Now this is not an everyday trek. It's the kind of landscapes you see on the Warwan Valley trek, you will not see on any other trek, not even within Jammu and Kashmir. But this trek is a test of your endurance and also a test of your mental strength for a few reasons. The first is the pass climb itself. You climb all the way to Lombilad Pass, which is at around 14,500 feet, and you're climbing through scree, rocks, boulders, very difficult terrain all the way to the pass. And once you reach the pass, you learn that you have to traverse down the length of a glacier, the Bracken Glacier. This is not easy because you're not walking on the glacier for 1 or 2 hours. You're walking down straight for around 6 to 7 hours, and the toughest thing is there are deep crevices around you. You can throw a rock into the crevice and you'll hear the sound of the rock hitting the earth after quite some time, so you'll understand the depth of those crevices. You see streams flowing on the crevices, you see rockfall zones all around the glacier. All you're praying for on that day is for good weather and hoping that it doesn't rain. So this is the descent on the glacier, but that's not it. Warwan Valley is not a short trek. It's a long trek where you're covering almost 13 to 14 kilometers every day on the trek, and there are icy river crossings that you have to do on this trek. Definitely not for the faint-hearted, not for the inexperienced. The next on our list of toughest treks by Indiahikes is the Bhaba Pass trek in Himachal Pradesh. Our technical team actually has a very nice name for this. They call it the Beauty and the Beast, because Bhaba is an extremely beautiful trek, but then there is also a very difficult side to it. The toughest part of this trek is of course the pass crossing at 16,000 feet. Right from the approach to the pass, where you'll be starting at around 2 a.m., you will be walking entirely on scree and boulders and moraine. Every step you take means taking a step backward as well. It is extremely tricky to walk on this terrain. And just when you reach the pass, you look on the other side, this beautiful Grand Spiti right in front of you, but then you're also walking on endless amount of scree where you're thinking that when is this descent going to end? But it's not just the pass crossing, because right from the beginning to the end of the trek, you are trekking beside a river. It's either the Bhaba River or the Pin River, and there are lots of stream crossings, river crossings, which you'll have to do in extremely cold waters, constantly getting in and out of the water. If not that, you're also trekking in monsoon, which almost always promises you a few days of bad weather. So that is something that comes along with the Bhaba Pass trek. The next on our list of toughest treks is Mount Rinjani, which is a trek to an active volcano in Indonesia. Now this trek is different from all the treks I've mentioned so far. Let me tell you why. Within 2 days of this trek, you start the trek from 3,700 feet. You climb all the way up to 8,600 feet and camp there. And the very same night at 2 a.m. is when you start your summit climb and climb all the way to 12,200 feet. And from there, the same day, you're descending all the way down to 6,600 feet. All this is happening within a matter of 2 days, not even 48 hours, within that much time. So this trek is definitely not easy, but it's not just the altitude that makes makes it difficult. The terrain on this trek is definitely not friends with your legs, because you are walking on volcanic ash and you're walking on extremely slippery mud. Every step you take, you're climbing back 2 steps and you're covered completely in volcanic ash. Your hands are black, your face, your feet, everything is black on this trek. And in this kind of terrain, you're making it all the way up to the summit, and you're walking on a ridge, which means it is windy, it is cold, there are a lot of things being thrown at you, and your body has to battle all of it and make it to the top. So this is definitely a test of your mental makeup. You're constantly battling with yourself. Should I go? Should I go? Should I go? And when you actually go there, see the sunrise from the summit, is when you realize the fruit of your effort. So that's Mount Rinjani for you, definitely for someone who wants to test yourself and see whether you can make it to the top. The last trek on the list of toughest treks is the Kedartal trek in Uttarakhand. Now this trek, if you take a look at it on our website, it just shows you that you're covering a total distance of around 24 kilometers, and you may wonder what's the big deal. But those 24 kilometers are largely at altitudes above 13,000 feet. So you start your trek at around 10,000 feet, and the very next day you're climbing to 13,000 feet, and you're hovering around that altitude for the next 3 days. The highest point being at 15,500 feet, which is the actual lake at Kedartal. So the altitude has a huge impact on your body on this trek. But that's not it. There is another angle to this trek which makes the trek difficult, and that is the spider walls on this trek. These are spider walls which are extremely narrow ledges on the surface of huge boulders, where you have to navigate those sections, and below you is the gushing river. One misstep and you fall down into the river. The toughest part of it is that these sections cannot really be fortified with ropes or safety devices, so it is a risky affair when you are crossing these sections. So there are times when there is snow in these regions, there are times when there is no snow, there are times also when there are bridges that are made on the river so that you can avoid this section, but all of these are very dicey. So if you're going to Kedartal, you're going for a tough trek, and you need to be prepared in terms of your agility, and you need to be nimble and experienced to do this trek. So that was our list of toughest treks that we organize at Indiahikes. We are very consciously veering away from even tougher treks which are actually risky to people's lives, because every life matters. We don't want trekking to come at the cost of people's lives. So all of these treks are where we are sure that we can bring as much safety as possible to keep you safe. However, a lot of safety is in your hands on all of these treks, because these are tough treks, they are demanding, they are difficult, they are going to throw a lot of uncertainties at you, and a lot of it is in your hands. You need to be prepared mentally, physically, everything, if you're going to choose any of these treks. But I hope you do, and if you do, I hope you have a wonderful trek. If you have any doubts, if you want help planning this out, then we have a form in the description below. Just fill out that form, talk to us before you register for any of these treks so that we can guide you. But that's all from me today about the toughest treks. If you feel any other treks are as tough or come close, drop in a comment below. I'm curious to know. That's all from me today. I'm Swathi from Indiahikes, and you're watching Trek with Swathi.